Imagine waking up one morning and looking up to see enormous glowing rings stretching across the sky above Earth. At first, it might look like a strange cloud formation, but those shining arcs are actually giant planetary rings, a breathtaking band of ice, rock, and dust circling our planet, turning the familiar sky into something completely alien. But could Earth really have rings like Saturn? And if it did, how would life on our planet change? To understand this possibility, we first need to look at the most famous ring system in our solar system. Far beyond Earth lies Saturn, a gas giant surrounded by the most spectacular rings we have ever observed. Saturn's rings are not solid structures, but countless pieces of ice and rock orbiting together in a flat disk. Now imagine if a similar system suddenly appeared around Earth, wrapping our planet in glowing rings. The very first thing people would notice would be the sky itself. Instead of empty blue space overhead, a massive bright arc would stretch from one horizon to the other. Together, they form enormous circular bands, stretching hundreds of thousands of kilometers across space. During the daytime, the rings would appear like pale, shining clouds cutting across the sky. Sunlight reflecting off billions of icy particles would make them glow softly above the planet. At night, the view would become even more spectacular. The rings would shine like a second Milky Way, forming a brilliant ribbon of light across the stars. Depending on where you lived, the rings would appear in very different ways. People near the equator might see the rings stretching high overhead like a giant glowing bridge. But while the rings would be beautiful, they would also begin to change the planet in powerful ways. One of the biggest effects would come from the shadows cast by those enormous rings. Parts of Earth would regularly fall under giant moving shadows, as sunlight is blocked by ring particles. These shadows could stretch across continents, reducing the amount of sunlight reaching the ground. Gravity and atmospheric drag would gradually pull ring particles closer to the planet. This means many of those icy rocks would eventually fall toward Earth. As they enter the atmosphere, they would burn up and create brilliant streaks of light. Meteor showers would become far more common across the world. These impacts could create small craters in remote parts of the planet. The rings would also create new challenges for space exploration. Satellites orbiting Earth would need to avoid billions of fast-moving particles. Even tiny pieces of ice traveling at high speed could destroy spacecraft. As sunlight passed through the rings, it would scatter and create glowing colors across the sky. Golden light might reflect off the icy particles, painting the clouds with strange new hues. Photographers and travelers would journey across the planet just to witness these incredible skies. Famous landscapes and cities would look completely different beneath the glowing arcs. Every clear night would reveal a spectacular cosmic structure hanging above the planet. The presence of rings might even influence culture, art, and mythology across the world. People throughout history have looked to the stars for inspiration. With rings filling the sky, our view of the universe would feel closer and more alive. But how could Earth ever form rings in the first place? One possible scenario involves a massive asteroid wandering too close to our planet. Earth's gravity could tear the asteroid apart, scattering fragments into orbit. Those fragments might eventually spread out and settle into a flat, circular ring. Another possibility involves a catastrophic collision with a large moon or asteroid. Such an impact could blast enormous amounts of debris into space around Earth. Over time, that debris might organize itself into a stable ring system. Yet rings are rarely permanent features for rocky planets. Gravity slowly pulls particles inward, while other forces push them outward. Eventually, the rings would begin to thin and lose material. Some fragments would fall toward Earth as meteors. Others might escape the system entirely and drift into space. Over millions of years, the rings would slowly fade away. The sky would gradually return to the familiar view we know today. But during the time those rings existed, Earth would become one of the most visually stunning worlds in the solar system. A planet with glowing bands of ice stretching across its skies. A world where sunsets shimmer through cosmic dust and meteor showers light the night. For a brief chapter in planetary history, our home would look more like Saturn than the quiet blue world we know. And anyone lucky enough to stand beneath those glowing rings would witness one of the most extraordinary sights imaginable. So the next time you look up at the sky, imagine those giant rings stretching across the stars. Because somewhere in the universe, there may already be a world just like that.